This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Sunday.
Welcome to Sunday Groove, episode 12. I want to thank everybody for coming back. This is actually a landmark episode because it is the 12th episode, which means 1 year for my show. Very excited to be here. Very excited to have a topic that I think kind of goes along with something that should be, at least in my mind, celebrated, as I celebrate it anyway. But this episode, I have a guest, and we're going to go through, and I'm just going to blow past any hide in the topic because I realized later there's no need for that. We're going to talk about our favorite concerts. So that's kind of like a party in itself. So that's how we're going to work on this episode. But I have someone here with me as always. I have a new guest though, and his name is Andy Helene. He is from Survey Says over on our wrestling feed at Place to Be Nation. How are you doing today, Andy?
I'm great. I'm grooving.
Well, I'm glad you're grooving. That's the name of the game. So, glad you are. I wanted to say, Andy has been one of the most interactive listeners, and so I've been meaning to have him on for a long time. And so I'm glad I finally actually reached out, and he actually came up with the topic, or mentioned the topic idea, because I'd considered it before, but I wasn't really sure. So I kind of was glad it worked out for the topic, and I think it's the right person for the right topic. So,
thanks for having me on.
Of course. And I'll go ahead and say it here because I forget sometimes. Please, if you like this show, if you have any feedback, reach out to me on Twitter at Sunday Groove PTB, or on Facebook. You can find me, David Sunday. Just let me know what you think of the show. Let me know if you have any ideas, or like I say, if you have any critical things, you can say that too. Like I said, Andy's reached out many times, and he loves giving me ideas, and I will get around to most of them, I'm sure. A couple of them I don't know enough about that it would probably be a while until I could get to them, but
yeah, I think probably how I said, like the Black Sabbath Sunday.
Yeah, that or Kiss. Like, I did know more Kiss than I thought, thanks to the movie Role Models. That was really my introduction to more than just like their huge songs that you can't, you have to know, like you just grow up hearing them. But those were two I'm like, I don't know enough about, because like I just know the early days Sabbath, because that's the only collection I have of theirs. But as always, I typically start the show with current spins, and so I'm going to actually pause this time. After I tell you what it is. Current spins, it can be anything we're currently listening to. It doesn't have to be new music. It can be anything that we've been digging lately. So let's cue that song now.
Current spins, what you've been listening to. Current spins, it can be old and new. Current spins.
All right. So current spins. Andy's my guest, so I'm going to let him go first. Do you have anything you've been currently listening to?
Yeah, there's been a couple new albums that have come out this like spring or summer in the last couple months that I've been listening to a lot. If you are familiar with Alice Cooper, he's got like a few guitar players, and they all have their own bands and like side projects. And even like Nita Strauss, I think she performed at WrestleMania and did some entrance music. Yeah, but his other guitar player is Ryan Roxie, and he put out a new album called Imagine Your Reality, and he did like a solo tour. And so if you're into Cheap Trick or that kind of glam rock, then it's a pretty good album.
Nice. Cheap Trick is another band I need to jump back into more. Like I'll be honest, like some of their stuff I love, and then there's just some that doesn't connect with me. But there's enough out there that does that I know I need to look into more of their stuff.
Yeah, like I'd always heard the radio songs for like a long time, but I never really went too deep until the last couple of years. And like I have some friends that are really huge fans, so I kind of like, I kind of dug into their collection and got some stuff from the '90s that might have been forgotten, or I guess some people might not even know it existed. But yeah, they had a couple good albums in the '90s.
Oh wow, that's pretty impressive. Because what did they start? Was it the '70s that they started?
Yeah, it was like the mid '70s. They're an Illinois band. I'm from Illinois, so I guess they're from up north a little bit in Rockford area. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. Well, I'll have to check that out. I obviously know Alice Cooper, but I've never looked much into his band as far as like the side stuff. But I always love ideas and love new bands to check out. And actually going with that, I will mention one thing I currently listen to and really got obsessed with last night. It's actually a recommendation from Russell. It was a band called Father Son. Have you heard of them, Andy?
No, I haven't.
They are, according to Wikipedia... Well, crap, I closed that window. I'm just going to go off memory. Oh, no, here they are. They're a Scottish band. A Scottish alternative band. What I've heard of theirs, like their older stuff I'm not as into as the new, but they have a new album coming out in September, and they've released 2 songs so far for it, and that's Charm School and Making Waves. Charm School is more distortion heavy on the guitar a little bit. Not hard rock whatsoever, but it's just kind of a little more rocking than the other one. But it's to me, it's the stronger of the songs. But both the singles I've heard so far are good. Making Waves is the other one. It's pretty cool as well. It's the one that's got stuck in my head actually more. It's weird. I like Charm School a little better, but Making Waves is the one stuck in my head currently. So definitely check them out if you're looking for something new in rock and something a little different. It's not. I'm sure if I tried hard enough or gave it a lot of time, I could think of a comparison, but off the top of my head, I can't. So to keep from misspeaking, I will not compare them.
You said it's called Father Son?
Yes.
Like Father hyphen Son, or?
No, just one word, Father Son.
Okay.
Yeah, I really confused Google with it. They were recommending the Cat Stevens song "Father and Son" and a few other things. And I'm like, no, it's a band. And then I scrolled far enough down and found them. But yeah, it's just a very weird name. But like I said, I'm digging it so far. Oh, was going to say one thing about it. He has a really beautiful voice, and so I thought that was worth noting. That's probably what stands out to me equally as much as the rocking guitar on Charm School. So, any other albums resonating with you lately?
Yeah, I should probably give a shout out if my buddy's going to listen or not. I've got a couple friends that are in a band. They're called The Great Affairs. I don't know if I should plug them or not, because it's not really just a plug. Like, I like their music too, like legitimately. But my friend's band, The Great Affairs, they have a new album that they've been working on for a long time, and they finally got it out this year. It's called 10 and 2, and like they kind of seem to change their sound kind of with every album, which I kind of like because nothing's really the same.
Right.
But they have kind of the same like bass sound, but they don't really like. I don't. I think one's almost kind of like a lighter, like Americana kind of thing that they call it, or it's more like a Tom Petty. But then this recent one, it's more of like, they turned it up to 11 and they just like rocked it out. And,
nice.
So glad they finally came out with that album, and I think they're getting a little bit more attention because they got kind of a label now instead of being self-produced. So I hope they do good with it.
Nice. Yeah, I follow them. I've not looked into a lot of their stuff yet, but that's one of those planned to. I'm one of those people that really gets shiny squirrel syndrome, where I just get distracted so easily with stuff. Like I plan to go listen to it, and then I kind of forget. But they're definitely one I've been meaning to check out. And I know I've heard a song or two by them, and I liked it. But that's been a couple months back.
Yeah, I was probably sharing their posts on Facebook or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely from you. Something that I've recently been listening to a lot actually was kind of accidental. I still listen to CDs a lot. Like in my car, I don't have the hookup other than through a FM transmitter that I can play stuff from my phone. So I usually listen mostly to CDs. So I grabbed a couple CD cases, threw them in my car, and actually had the wrong CDs in the case, and found an album I hadn't listened to in probably 3 years or better, and that was Tom Petty's the Heartbreaker album, Hypnotic Eye, came out in 2014, and I liked it at the time, and it was really the first album I really anticipated by them, because like I liked their hits, I knew a lot of their hits growing up, but I didn't really get big into Tom Petty until maybe like 2012 or something like that, which is very late, especially for my age, but Hypnotic Eye came out and I loved it, but then I just kind of forgot about it. And I know on my 4th episode I had Todd Weber on, and we talked about so much Tom Petty stuff because there's so much good music by Tom Petty, whether it be solo or with the Heartbreakers. But we kind of just glossed over that one because we'd just been going for so long at that point, because that was, I think, still my longest episode ever. Because of how long Tom Petty's career is, and I really wanted to feel like I did justice to his legacy, because his loss still is something that's still hasn't really sunk in. But Hypnotic Eye, I went back to it and had more amazing songs than I remembered. Fault Line has a really good bass groove and kind of a bouncy cymbal work on the drum that's really hard to describe that to people that don't play drums, but it's really fun. It's pretty simple, but it's really fun to drum along with. So that was Fault Line. Forgotten Man's really good. Power Drunk. Both of those have really good rockin' guitars and kind of soaring guitars, more than I remember hearing from them. Like it almost, it kind of harkens back to the maybe 80s, 90s rock. And while still sounding modern, it's kind of a weird thing. But if you haven't heard that album, it's one I'd never heard a lot like people talk about. But Hypnotic Eye is a really good album, so check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, I have it on my phone, but I, like you said, I need to revisit it.
Yeah, I discovered over the past 2 weeks that is one of the most calming but energetic albums. It's it's kind of a funny combination to say that, but I'm a person that gets anxious through the week, and especially in if I get in heavy traffic or I'm in a hurry or whatever. And I found that album just I zone into it, and it's it's the perfect car record for me, just to kind of cruise around to and keep me mellow. So love that about it. So yeah, it stayed in my car for the last 2 weeks because I've been enjoying it, but also because of that soothing quality. Anything else from you, Andy, on kind of current spins?
Yeah, the other two I had were actually current because the album came out this year. But there's one that I kind of went back to just the last day or two in my car. It's the most recent one from Megadeth. I don't know. It's not one that I liked when it came out. It's called Dystopia, and I only liked 1 or 2 songs, and I just kind of ignored it. And then I saw them in concert on that tour, and they played a whole bunch of songs from that album, half the album. And I was kind of man, I wish they would have done more older songs than newer songs. But then out of nowhere, the last couple of weeks, it finally clicked with me. So
nice. Yeah, that happens so often with music. It can just be whether hearing it live or just in the right mood for it, can make all the difference in the world. There's so many albums that sometimes I'll even force myself to go back to something because I feel like I didn't give it a proper chance.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes I get that where maybe I'm too hyped for something and then it comes out and it's not what I expected, or it's kind of like, like it takes a while to win me over. Like I'm not in the right mindset for it. And then, something like take you by surprise, like that one. Now I wish I could go back to that concert and I'd be like, really getting into those like 6 or 7 songs from that album.
Right. Yeah, I'm bad about getting overhyped for albums. I know back the album Death Magnetic by Metallica, like I had heard either the whole album or like 6 of the songs or something ridiculous amount before the album actually dropped. And like, I still loved it when it came out, but I was almost fatigued on a couple of the tracks because I had listened to them so much. I'm like, why did I do that? Why didn't I kind of listen to it a couple times and then stop myself? Because like they were just releasing a new single all the time to kind of build the hype for it. And then I want to say like the day before it came out physically, they had the whole thing you could stream. And I'm like, why didn't I wait for good speakers? Like there's no reason, but I've done that with a lot of albums. So in recent years, I really try to keep myself from that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like super jacked for that one, and I still like it. The Death Magnetic one.
Oh, it's incredible. It is one that didn't at all let me down. It was just by the time I got it, I'd definitely worn out the Day That Never Comes. I'd worn that one out a lot. But the last. No, I lied. The last 2 I want to talk about, I'll start with one of them. I went back to, speaking of calming, but also being incredibly rocking. I don't know. It's just something about the vibe and how my brain works. I rediscovered the album The Game by Queen just a little while back. It was one I'd heard, but it didn't resonate with me as much as some of their other ones originally. But it is an incredible album. It's from 1980. And it has, Another One Bites the Dust, Crazy Little Thing Called Love.
Yeah, I know when you're talking about. It's got like a gray cover with a band photo on it, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But those are the main 2 singles from it. But it's got so many great songs, such as Play the Game, Dragon Attack.
Yeah.
Need Your Loving. Save Me. Oh my God, Save Me is amazing. But then a really cool one, Coming Soon, is just kind of a little, it's very of its time. It's a very 80s sounding song, way more so than most of the songs on there. But I'm trying to remember which one it was I was listening to earlier that actually has the drummer singing on, which I always think is cool when he does it, because he's got a really good voice himself.
Is that Roger Taylor? Is he the?
Yes.
Okay.
I always have to catch myself because for the longest time, I'd gotten confused and was saying it was Paul Rogers. But no, Paul Rogers is the one that sang with them for a little while after Freddie's death. Actually, I think it was like the early 2000s or so, I think, that he joined up with them for one album. But I used to get those names confused because they're so similar. But yeah, that's been like I want to pep myself up and put myself in a good mood. I throw on that album, and it's done the trick for the past probably almost month now. So I wanted to throw a little love to it.
Nice.
And I think you had one more?
I just wrote down 3.
Oh, was it just... Okay. Well, then I'll rush really quick on my last one because I didn't really write much down on that. I just wanted to mention something that really struck a chord with me the other night, and that is Chris Stapleton's not newest album, but the one before that. Let me Google it. I'm forgetting the name already. Have you ever listened to Chris Stapleton before?
Oh, actually, I haven't. I know he's like super popular, and like a lot of my friends dig him, but I don't know. Like I'm just too in a rock and roll like mindset, I guess.
I normally am. Like, what got me to even check him out? Because I don't do much country these days. Like, I haven't for probably like 15 years. Like, it's very rare that I get in a country mood, unless it's 90s country, which still takes me back to my early childhood. but the movie Hell or High Water is what got me into Chris Stapleton. Had the song Outlaw State of Mind, and that was off his album The Traveler, which is incredible. His voice is so soulful that I think that's part of why it resonates so well. He writes great choruses, just good songs overall. Brings back a lot of old school vibe, and does bring in some blues and rock into it as well. So it's not your typical modern country that most people think of. That to me ruins a lot of country. It's got that classic feel that I still resonate with, or that resonates with me, I guess would be the better way of saying it. But the album that I wanted to mention was From a Room, Volume 1. But it is it's really good. It was the other day, it just happened to pop up on one of the recent. Amazon added it to their free listing on the Prime, not the extra Prime, I can't remember what it's called, but just your typical Amazon Prime app. And so I wanted to check it out before deciding if I wanted to buy it or not. And
so there's a Prime and then like a extra Prime? Yeah,
I cannot remember what it's called, but there's Prime Unlimited, I think is what it's called, or something like that. Is the they have a ton more music on it. And I did it like as a trial, but I could not justify. I think it was like $10 a month, and I'm like, it's got a lot of good stuff on there, but I'd rather support the bands if I like it that much, so I'll buy it. But like, if it just already comes with my Prime membership for my free shipping and everything, I'm gonna definitely check out stuff on it. But yeah, it's, I think, Prime Unlimited. But anyway, so Chris Stapleton, if you're in the mood for something soulful, kind of a little bit of Americana, Southern rock, outlaw country kind of thing going on, definitely check him out. Because like I said, I kind of just accidentally got back into him this past week as well. So anyway, that was Current Spins. So next I always go with pretty much start interviewing my guest. And so Andy, what is your first memory of music?
I've listened to the show before, and so I knew that you had these like introductory questions that you ask all your guests. And last night I was thinking about it when I was driving, and like the earliest music memories that I have, it's because it's kind of like it's hard to remember back when you're like 4 or 5, 3, you know.
Right.
But,
oh yeah.
Or some of it is like stuff where people like tell you something, so then you kind of think it's a memory, even though you've been told it. Because my grandma and my aunt would say, "Oh yeah, you listen to Phil Collins and you used to play air guitar," and I don't remember it, but I do actually have a memory that is related to Phil Collins. So I guess he's my first music memory because I remember getting freaked out by the Land of Confusion music video. If you remember that with the weird, creepy Ronald Reagan puppets and stuff. Like
I've heard about it, but I don't think I've actually ever seen the video. I know the song very well, but
yeah,
I missed the video somehow.
Oh man, I don't know if it would really be like that like freaky now, but it's always kind of been like a freaky thing. Like I've never wanted to go back and watch it because I remember being freaked out and like hiding behind the chair. Because I think there's Ronald Reagan puppet, and then they have a Phil Collins puppet because it was like Genesis. They have the band members, and then there's just like, I think he might be running around in a Superman costume. And yeah, I don't know. They got squished faces, almost like Cabbage Patch Kids or something.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Any idea how old you would have been through that?
I don't know that. I think that came out the year I was born, or maybe like I was 1. But somehow I saw the video. You know, obviously they must have replayed it, so I was probably maybe like 2 or 3.
Okay.
Something like that. So yeah, I was young. Like, but I don't know. It was just yeah. It was like a nightmare. Like nightmarish puppets.
Understandable. Sometimes puppets can be really cool to kids, and sometimes they can be kind of creepy. It depends on how they're used. I know my mom used to tell me about. I think it was. No, maybe it was my brother. I can't remember if it was me or my brother that was creeped out by the Count on Sesame Street. and like we loved them, but we'd like have to have parental guidance to watch it when we were like really little. I want to say that might have been my brother and I was Scooby-Doo. But anyway, one of us was creeped out by the count. But that definitely goes back into one of those things that it's hard to know whether it's actually a memory or just your mom telling you, because I know my memory that I know for sure is actual memory kicked kind of into overdrive when I was 4 or 5. I know a lot of people claim they remember earlier than that, and maybe they do. I just know memories that my family's told me of that early.
Yeah, so it's hard to kind of separate. Like, well, is that a memory or just like a...
Right.
Yeah, something you heard, I guess.
So, to make it flow better, I'm going to skip around a little bit on the questions. What was the first album that you bought with your own money?
Well, you had talked about this on your last episode, on your 90s episode, where you guys were talking about the 90s, like the singles, like the CD.
Right.
I had bought a bunch of those because I didn't have a lot of money, or my money was going to wrestling because that was my bigger hobby at the time. So whatever leftover money, I had bought the CD singles in the little cardboard tray.
Right.
So I was trying to remember. I bought a bunch of Metallica ones of those, but I think my first actual album, like CD, I bought was the Black Album.
Nice.
For like a lot of hard rock fans who were our age.
Right. Now, how old would you have been at the time?
I think I bought that more later on in like junior high.
Right.
It was probably like 97, 98.
Okay. That's pretty close to around the time I got into them. I heard it close to when it came out, but like as a little kid, it didn't resonate quite as much. Other than just the music video for Enter Sandman. But I know, Black Album, that's an incredible one.
Yeah, I think the first, more like, because that was one that would have been out on the shelves for a while. I think the one that was the most recent, like a current album at the time, it would have been S&M. And I remember asking my mom, like, hey, I want to go to the store to buy this, and I said S&M, and she's like, "What? What's that?" And I'm like, "It's Metallica. It's S&M because it's Symphony and Metallica." And I think like that whole like what it actually meant was like,
right.
Awesome. I just wanted the Metallica CD. I didn't care what it meant.
Right.
but yeah, I was like, I almost was like shut out from buying that.
Understand. Around that time, I had to actually get the edited version of Garage Days by Metallica, because my mom was very picky on stuff like that, and especially seeing some of the titles of a couple of the songs, I was still shocked she even let me get that, because that one they covered "Die Die My Darling," and I remember her being really taken aback by that, like, I don't know, and then of course I begged enough, and she's like, okay. But yeah, S&M, that's an incredible album. Well, cool. Yeah.
I think Greg might have said that that's his favorite Metallica album, right?
I believe so. I could be wrong. I know his favorite version of several songs comes off of that. I can't remember if it's his favorite overall or not, but it's really high up there for him. Because I know whenever we would play Guitar Hero Metallica, that him and I both would sing the versions like that were on S&M. Like that's add in the extra things he throws in. So like, I can't hear you and all that stuff, and we would just throw that in because we love that album so much. Yeah, well, pretty much if I play that, since I don't play guitar and I'm not a lead singer, I that just pretend I am whenever I play Rock Band or Guitar Hero, either one. So that will lead straight into the next one. Do you sing or play any instruments?
No, I don't. Like when I sing, it's more like talk singing, like William Shatner.
Okay.
I don't think anybody wants to hear that. But I did play.
Well, people buy William Shatner's albums. I mean, maybe it's just because he's famous, but
yeah,
there's an audience, a small audience, I think, but still.
Yeah. I did actually play cello for a year when I was in second grade, but I think it was kind of one of those things where I had some friends like in orchestra, or it wasn't called orchestra then in my school. It was called Suzuki, and I think some kids that I was friends with, they were involved in that, so I wanted to hang out with them. So I took up the cello, but I didn't really stick with it. I kind of moved into like Boy Scouts after that and sports.
Okay. So how long did you play cello?
Just the second grade.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's super young to be playing an instrument. Anyway, well, at least by my mind, I didn't play till way later. Now, you said spoken word, like so. Would it be like Bob Dylan type thing, or?
No, no. We're just making fun of myself because I would try. Like, I had a friend that would host karaoke, and I had went out a couple times and tried to sing like Kiss songs. But he's like, "You're just talking. You're not really singing." And I'm like, "Because I can't sing." So I'd end up being like Dr. Love or something, like I'd be like talking through the Kiss song.
Nice. I have a friend that does that exact same thing. It's entertaining for karaoke, though.
Yeah, I've cleared the room out before, too.
Nice.
Or maybe it was just a bad song choice.
Either can happen. I've definitely done it with the wrong song choice or a song that I did not know how to sing and did not realize how difficult it was until I attempted.
Although you're talking about like singing along to Metallica songs during when you're talking about with Greg, like I did karaoke Fuel by Metallica one time, but I like doing that because you can just do a lot of yeah.
Right.
It's not really thinking, you're just kind of shouting. So, oh man.
Yeah, I have to be very careful when I do that, though, because I'll lose my voice quick, because my voice is not cut out for that style of singing. Well, cool. And I guess that leads straight into our last one, which will actually transition perfectly into the topic of the show, and that is, what's the first concert you ever went to?
I feel like I was kind of a late bloomer with music, because I really didn't get into music until like well into junior high. And my first concert was when I was 19. It was in 2003. It was I'm from Peoria, Illinois, and it was at our arena in town. It was Journey and REO and Styx.
Nice. That is I'm very jealous of that first concert experience. Mine was not nearly that cool.
Oh. I kind of didn't think it was totally that cool. I was kind of going because, like, my girlfriend at the time, she was really into those bands, and I kind of liked some like Journey, but I wasn't really familiar with Styx, and I ended up really kind of liking some of their songs, so it kind of like got me into Styx a little bit more.
Nice. Yeah, I'm very hit or miss on Styx. Like, I cannot stand Sail Away. Like, that was one that's so overplayed. It's not a bad song, it's just one that annoys me just because I think I had a friend that was so into it that we heard it so many times it's then things more like Mr. Roboto I love. So.
Or I thought you were going to say like the Come Sail Away from Eric Cartman, because that was
that'd be pretty cool there, actually. Interesting anyway.
Like one thing with like Styx in that, or at least the Eric Cartman, was I saw Styx again a couple of years ago, and one of my buddies like was laughing because like the guy from Tesla, I think he was saying that he almost kind of sings in that same style as Eric Cartman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was kind of funny.
It used to confuse me as a child that there was like a Christian singer that was, what was his name? Something like Carmen or something. He briefly that I used to get, it was just, he just went by Carmen, and I used to think that Eric Carmen and him were the same person, and I thought like he just went Christian after a certain time, like Christian style music, and was so confused, especially when there's one song in particular, I cannot remember the name off the top of my head, that I was like, how did he do that and then it didn't work in my head, like it really threw me off.
Oh, you mean the Eric Cartman from like the Raspberries?
Yes, that's who I was thinking of.
Oh, so you thought he kind of transitioned to it?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I thought. Because a lot of bands have done like Christian albums, like just randomly in their career or later in their career, and so it just threw me off. I was like, "Oh, Go All the Way." That was the one. I was like, "Wow, he goes from singing "Go All the Way" to whatever his Christian songs were." I cannot think off the top of my head, and don't really care to give him too much of a thing because it wasn't anything that resonated with me. It was just somebody that was kind of sort of big when I was coming up.
I guess it might be deceiving because he kind of had that band and then he kind of disappeared for a while. It came back in the late 80s. So yeah, maybe he kind of wanted to reinvent himself.
That's what happened in my head, but of course, this is before I had internet and back before I could verify anything, so I just had all these like crazy theories in my head, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, what do we do before Wikipedia?
It blows my mind, like, because it's, instant gratification. If I have a question, I can just look it up. Whereas I remember, like, having to really think hard to come up with anything, and still not always knowing if I was accurate or not. It was just what we believed.
Yeah.
And now we can just, in less than a minute, get a lot of answers. Well, cool. Well, I'm going to do something strange, actually. I want to take a very quick break, and then we're going to get into the topic of the show. So, listeners, don't go anywhere. We're just getting wound up about concerts, and we have a lot of good stuff coming on the other side. So, stick with us.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, pro wrestling announcer Kevin Kelly here. I want to make sure you are all subscribed to all the great feeds here at Place to Be Nation. It's really easy to do. Just head to iTunes or your preferred podcatcher app today and search and subscribe to the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, which of course includes the full archives of the Kevin Kelly Show, the Place to Be Nation pod feed, and the Pro Wrestling Only feed. Subscribe, listen, and then rate us and leave feedback today. And be sure to give Justin your true thoughts. I mean, don't hold back. After all, he is kind of a jerk. Just listen to Scott.
Place to Be Nation's JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have a ton of great podcasts available to you on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com. We offer them to you on two great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, we bring you the Mothership, the Place to Be podcast, along with Main Event, Survey Says, the Monday Night Wars, and our monthly pay-per-view reaction show, as well as Jeff Learns Wrestling. In addition to these full-length shows, we also deliver special network podcasts and pod blasts on topics old and new.
Over on the Pro Wrestling Only feed, we dive deep inside the wrestling business with a stacked army of experts leading the way. The feed features potpourri shows such as This Week in Wrestling, Greetings from Allentown, Match of the Week podcasts, and the Military Industrial Suplex. We also have shows that focus intently on certain topics like Through the Years, Worldcast, Strong Style History, Strong Style Story, and Mount Olympus. Plus, the feed has the full archives of legendary shows like Titans of Wrestling, Where the Big Boys Play, Letters from Center Stage, and Letters from Kayfabe, plus much more. And on our very popular Place to Be Nation Pop podcast feed, we offer such great shows as Talkin' Pop, the Glenn Butler Podcast Hour Spectacular, NBA Team, PTBN Play, Sunday Groove, Breaking Balls, and Lucha Undead.
As well as a veritable podcast heaven for comics fans.
With the Hard Traveling Fanboys, Sellers Points, Todd Weber's Conversations, Geek and Sassy, and Marvel Age Podcasts.
You can find all of these current shows, plus archives of our past podcasts, including The Kevin Kelly Show, as well by subscribing to both feeds on iTunes. And while there, be sure to rate and leave feedback today. All these shows, plus others, available at PlayStation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth stretch projects, and more. Be sure to support our site by using PlayStation.com/Amazon when doing your online shopping, and download our free PTB Vintage Vault Refresh ebooks via the links on our site. We also want to thank our friends at Boneheads Wing Bar in West Warwick, Rhode Island, and Fall River, Massachusetts, and thehistoryofwrestling.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr as well. PlayStationNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Hi there. Have you recently gone through a crisis? Did you find out your friends have been lying to you for years to cover up something they did? Have you discovered that one of your bitter enemies might actually be 3 people? Were you seemingly killed by a new god only to find yourself quantum leaping through time until you make it back to the present? Was your entire reality wiped out in a cosmic battle between two godlike beings only to be reborn, destroyed, and reborn again? Then join me, Russell Sellers, and my special guests as we help you manage your post-crisis life in DC Post-Crisis Management, a limited monthly series starting in September. We can't promise you closure, but we will try to avoid destroying your hometown and turning you into a homicidal maniac who wipes out time.
Welcome back. This is the back half of the Sunday Groove, episode 12, in case you forgot. That'd be really weird if somebody just hopped in on this part, but I guess stranger things have happened. Have Andy back with me, and it is Helene. I am saying that correct, aren't I?
Yeah, you got it right the first time. Some people say like Helene or Haleen. You said Helene. So yeah, you were like dead on.
Nice.
Good job.
Well, thanks. Yes, I love any kind of congratulations. So that's good. Or validation. Yeah, I guess if somebody said it the other way, it could be like you're a member of Van Halen or something. Van Halen. That'd be interesting. That'd be kind of cool to be in that legacy, though. I think.
One friend of mine is named Jim. He might be listening. And he had always pronounced my last name wrong, but I didn't want to say anything because he'd always introduce me as, this is my friend Andy Haleen, and so I didn't know when to say something to go, hey, I say Haleen instead of Haleen, but then finally one time I did. He overheard me saying my last name to somebody. He's like, "Why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't you tell me that your last name was wrong?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I didn't want to He seemed really excited to always introduce me, so I'm like, okay, I just left it.
That's pretty cool. Or pretty funny. I had a principal that could never remember the name I went by. She knew my last name. She knew who I was, but she always called me by my actual legal first name, and or a version of it. And after correcting her several times, I just said, "The heck with it. I'll just be that. I'll be I'll go by the name she thinks I should go by." Because it can be really awkward if you haven't corrected somebody after a certain point, though.
This was 3 years, so
wow.
Yeah. But I don't know. I felt like I was going to be a jerk if I said something, but I guess I wouldn't have been a jerk. I don't know. So maybe I overthink things too much.
Well, we have that in common, Andy. This is the show for that, because as I talked off air to you, I overthink everything and definitely get overly, for no apparent reason, nervous for recording episodes of a show that there really aren't any stakes for, but I get in my head about sometimes. So you're in good company for that. So we're going to talk our 5 favorite concert memories, and I think your idea of just going chronological of the ones we picked makes the most sense, because I know we talked about trying to rank them any further than just picking 5 period was painful. So I think going chronological makes the most sense. So
yeah, I don't know if I can really I don't know if I can rank them. And then there's just too many too. So I kind of put some other restrictions on myself too to kind of thin it out, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have to make a decision. towards the end of my list which one. It luckily was the same year, so it's not hard. And I can make it on the fly, but I had a hard time narrowing down at least a couple of them because they're so near and dear to my heart that it's hard to pick. But I definitely have my first one locked in. But what is your first one? What year? What? Just set the stage for it. What's something that hit you really big in one of your favorite concerts?
One of my all-time favorites is the group or the kind of artist isn't among my favorite, but the concert was just that good, and I don't know, it was almost life altering. Because it's Roger Waters performing the Wall at Wrigley Field. So it was the first time I've been at Wrigley Field, and then I do love that album. I'm not a huge Pink Floyd fan, but I think that album is awesome. So it was kind of an awesome album, an awesome venue, an outdoor show like that. And it was a girl I know from the internet, and we were friends through X-Files message boards and stuff.
Nice.
And she lived up in Wisconsin, and I'm further down in Illinois, and she's like, "Hey, I have an extra ticket. Would you be interested?" And I was kind of because that seemed like a really expensive concert ticket at the time too. I think it was over $100. And so I was kind of I don't know if I want to spend that much, but I don't know when I'll ever get the chance to see that again. So I was I got to take it. So yeah, it was awesome. And then I think they even put out a couple years later, they put a movie live version of it on the big screen at a movie theater in town.
Oh wow, okay. I'm not sure I've actually heard that all the way through, that album, but I know I like it.
Yeah, because there's so many songs that are basically classic rock staples, "Hey You" and "Comfortably Numb" and even "Another Brick in the Wall."
I think they were all. What is that? "Another Brick in the Wall"? What is that? "Off the Wall"? Would have to be. Yeah. That played a lot in Montgomery, Alabama. I know. I think I mentioned in one of my other episodes. It's can be regional, what gets played on your classic rock or other radio stations.
Yeah, true. Because around here, you'll hear a lot of Midwestern bands that I don't know if That's why I always thought REO Speedwagon or something. I didn't know if it was huge anywhere else or if it was just a Midwest thing. Or some band Head East. I think they get played their one hit song gets played around here to death.
REO Speedwagon was one I grew, I know I heard growing up, but honestly I got more into them because of those cheesy infomercials from maybe 10 years ago that I thought were hilarious, just advertising music from I guess the 80s and 70s. Have you ever started watching late night infomercials regarding all these compilation tapes or compilation CDs, I guess?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember one all the time. I can't remember what CD it was advertising. It was big 80s anthems. And then there'd be a guy that was I think parachuting or skydiving. You remember that? And then it would have maybe 5-second clips of all the 80s songs. You had Cinderella, and then it would have Queensryche, and then it would go, by 1999.
Nice. Well, there was one that was advertising some REO Speedwagon era music, and it was just so funny. I don't know. It's hard to. You just have to see it. It's hard to really get. So after that point, I just kind of got really into the. I can't remember the name of it, the name of the song, but heard it from a friend who heard it from another. "You've Been Messing Around."
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that should I should know it. It's yeah. Ticket on the Run, I think.
Yes, it is. That is. So you said it was kind of a really cool experience. Was there anything in particular other than that made it stand out to you? Being at Wrigley Field the first time?
It was just something where I guess I had only seen a couple concerts, maybe a handful of them between 2003 and this one was 2012, summer of 2012. So in the 9 years, I hadn't seen that many concerts, But like once I saw that one, like my concert going kind of almost exploded.
Yeah.
And it was one thing where I think it was a Friday night. And like I drove home that night. So I got back, it's like a 3-hour drive to Chicago. I got back like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I remember just laying around in like bed the next day, like thinking about that concert. Like it was a super concert high, and it took me a while to come down.
Oh, I relate so well to that. I was a late bloomer with concerts, and once I got into them for like 3 or 4 years, that's about all I did. Then I got distracted with life, and the first concert I'll talk about in a few minutes kind of got me back into shows. So I definitely know the concert high. That always, most always happens with concerts. Well, cool. I was about to ask how far of a drive that was, because I'm really not familiar with your area.
Yeah, I guess we're like one of those, what is it called, like a flyover state or something. We're like right in the middle of the country, and I'm actually like where I'm in Peoria, we're like basically right in the middle of St. Louis and Chicago. Like it's about 2.5 hours north to Chicago, and like 2.5 down to St. Louis. So usually to see those huge bands, we got to go out of the area, like.
Right. Oh, I know the pain, because I live in Alabama, and a lot of bands won't even come to Alabama, but if they do, you have to go to Birmingham. But most of the time, you have to go to Atlanta, Georgia, to see any shows. Did I lose you?
Oh, no.
Okay. Sorry, I'm so bad at that.
I guess I just kind of nodded. I kind of nodded, and then as I was nodding, I thought, "Oh shit, I'm on the."
You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do nonverbals all the time, and then I realize, that doesn't translate to the recording. So,
yeah.
But I several times have had Skype issues over recording, so I'm always terrified I lost the person. I know I actually just guessed what Greg was saying one time to finish out a show, because we were like right there at the end, and I'm like, I'm not waiting for Skype to work to finish it out, because we were past the topic. We were just plugging stuff like shows at that point. So any other thoughts on that experience?
Like one thing that I thought was like really awesome was it's like a huge baseball park, right? So they have a huge stage like way out in the outfield. Well, then, because they build a wall, that's part of the show, they had a huge video screen on either side of the stage that went from, like, either side of the outfield. So then when they finally built the wall, it was just actually looked like one huge, like, massive wall all the way across the stadium.
Nice. Yeah, I know sometimes the visuals is part of what adds to the experience, too. And so I'm glad you said that, because I figured for that one that would be... could be part of the reason of the high cost as well, not just because of the big name, but there's a lot of visuals. I know
like production values of that,
right?
Yeah, like I think I think he did an arena tour, then did like stadiums like that, and then maybe went back to arenas. So I'm glad I saw it outside at that, because it might have lost something in an arena because you wouldn't be able to go as wide, I guess.
Right. Well, cool. Well, that is very different than my first one I'm going to talk about. Mine actually goes back to the band one of the bands we talked about in the first half, and that is Metallica.
Oh, nice.
I grew up hearing Metallica probably early 90s. I was born in 84. So as I've mentioned very briefly, it's just some of it didn't really resonate as much with me as a little kid. Because as I've said before, most people, I mean, if you've gone through trauma, then yeah, you've experienced anger and stuff at that age. But I don't know. It's the junior high era was when I really started really getting into Metallica, around probably 13 or 14. And so I've loved this band my whole life. I remember, or most of my life, I remember Enter Sandman. Like I always loved that video, and shockingly, even though my mom like banned MTV some point in the 90s, like for us being able to watch it because of some controversial video. I'm sure it was Madonna, but I don't know for sure. But it just seems like it would have been something like that. But I'd seen Enter Sandman like a million times, like the music video. And so it was just a huge staple of my childhood. And then getting huge into Black Album, Garage Inc., S&M, Reload. Reload was actually like probably the second one of theirs I fell in love with. So like, I don't know, it was just one of those experiences. I remember when it was announced in 2008, or was it it was 2009. Early 2009, they announced that they were touring Atlanta, and I remember I just got my tax refund. It was about 6 months out, and I'm like, I'm going to that show. I don't care if I have to go alone. Like, I am going to that show. And I remember my buddy Greg, he was sitting there with me, and he's like, okay, I'm in too. And I'm trying to think like who I need to call at that point, because I knew I wanted to make that decision so quick because I was not missing out on that opportunity. And our friend Garner, he's been on the show, I think episode 6 or 7. We talked about soundtracks. He's a quiet dude, and so like, and at that point, he had never talked about music as much. So I did not know that he'd want to go. And then he's like, asked me, he's like, can I go too? I'm like, of course, the more the merrier. So next thing I know, he's wanting to go, and called a couple of my other buddies. Some couldn't make it, but my friend Sam from college, he wanted to go as well. So it ended up just being the 4 of us. We booked those like those seats really quick because that was 2009. I think I was, honestly, and it's going to sound kind of sissy, but I was scared to be on the floor because I've never gotten in an motion or anything, and I knew some people were going to go crazy during the show, which they did. So that was a good call on my part. But we got as low as we could afford seats and as low as we could get to without, I had never ordered a lot of tickets, so I did not have the pre-order code. So we couldn't do it the initial batch, but we still had pretty good seats, way better than some other guys I knew that went, that were like way in the nosebleeds. But it was a show in Atlanta at Phillips Arena. Not really the greatest venue for a concert, but I mean, it was Metallica. I didn't care. It was my first chance getting to see them. I wasn't going to miss it, and it was definitely the most expensive I've ever paid for a show, but totally worth it. So we went to it. I made a trip, stayed with a friend from college that lives out in that area, and then we went to the show, and it was just one of the most incredible things, seeing a band I've been into for that many years, and on one of their best albums, at least one of their modern ones, of Death Magnetic. So it was what they called the World Magnetic Tour, October 4th, 2009. Not that that matters, but just had such a good mixture of the new album. They played a ton of stuff off their new album, but then they mixed in Ride the Lightning, One, Sad But True, Welcome Home Sanitarium.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I was super stoked for that. Like, that was one that I was like, I've got to hear that, and was so happy.
Yeah, it's like a deep cut, I guess.
It kind of, I mean, like it was an 80s hit off Master of the Puppets, but it wasn't, I don't think, as big as some of the other songs. And let's see. Blackened. I was actually, honestly kind of shocked to see that one played. And the song I misspoke earlier, it was the Day That Never Comes that I kind of wore out before the album came out. Just because it was the first single, but still a great song. And but then they finished with their encore. They always do at least a 3-song encore. They did "Last Caress," the Misfits cover, "Hit the Lights," and then "Seek and Destroy." But I just remember like this being the biggest concert I ever went to. The pyrotechnics were amazing. Just, you could feel the heat, even though we were pretty decent distance from it. Like, you could feel the heat. And Metallica, at least especially at that point, their stage, the way it was set up, they made sure they took turns, like, going to different sides of the stage so you could see them. And they rotated Lars around so you could see them. So pretty much, in theory, I'm doing air quotes here, there's no bad seat. And I really respected them for that because I'm like, it's a huge venue. There's probably between 20 and 40,000 people in there. So a lot of people are really far away. So it's really cool that they made the effort to make it good for everybody. And like I said, just the variety, being there with three of my best friends. I remember it's actually one of the shows I didn't take that many concert pictures of me and my friends because I was just so zoned in. I didn't think to do that. But I don't know. Definitely still one of my favorite memories. I would love to see them again, but unfortunately tickets just keep getting higher and higher and higher for every time they tour that I don't know if I'll do it. But very glad I got to make it to that one. I hate that Russell didn't get to make it to that one. Yeah. So that's kind of that was, like I said, that was 2009. That restoked my fire for concerts. Like I don't know if I've shared much on the show. Like I don't get into sports a whole lot. My love is music. Like that over most anything else. That is my love. And so like all the time I'm just constantly want to find another concert. And especially after that went to overdrive.
Yeah, like that's my thing too. It's kind of like going to concerts is like my church, I guess.
Right. I understand. It drives me crazy like that. I'm the only one of my friends that gets that into concerts because like the rest of them are huge into wrestling, so they're always trying to do wrestling shows, and that's great. That's just not something that I want to go. That's not something that's nearly as important to me. Or football games and stuff like they really want get into, and I don't really get into that. So concerts can be kind of hard to make work out sometimes, but that was one of the best ones, and just perfect memory.
Awesome, yeah. I was wondering if Metallica would make your list.
Oh yeah, it's honestly, my list probably isn't that hard to guess for people that have listened to the show a whole lot, but I think there's at least one that will throw them off a little. But yeah, Metallica, definitely. If I with seeing them, they had to make the list. So who do you have coming up next on yours?
Well, how you were talking about Metallica and how you're saying that it was concerts like you didn't want to go by yourself, right? You had mentioned that.
Right.
And it turned into like a road trip thing. That's one kind of like restriction maybe, or something I did when I came up with my list. I'm like, I've seen a lot of concerts where I went to them by myself, but I was like, maybe when I come up with this list, I'll kind of leave those out because I like seeing shows. But then it's almost like those road trip experiences. It kind of makes it a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to list any shows that I saw by myself. I thought I'd make it about my friends and like hanging out with them.
Nice.
And so those are the ones I ranked.
Well, I admire you for the fact that you go to shows by yourself because I'll do movies like that sometimes where I prefer to see them with friends. I will see them alone sometimes. But I don't think I've ever done that for a concert. But I should.
Well, I kind of did it because it was like shortly around the time of that one Seeing the Wall. And I had never really traveled to Chicago even by myself or something. And around that time, I had went up to meet some friends who I knew online, and now they're Place to Be Nation guys, like Steve Willie, if you ever talked to him.
I haven't, but I know who he is.
It was one of my first times going to Chicago, and so I guess that kind of broke the ice. So I'm like, all right, well, I saw Iron Maiden up in Chicago by myself, and so I guess I started kind of doing that a lot and seeing shows by myself because I was kind of worried, like, well, like I'm making this drive by myself, I'm going to be there by myself, I'm going to feel weird, but you're really just there to be there about the music, so who cares if you're by yourself? Is the way that I looked at it. I'm like, well, why should I feel ashamed being by myself? I'm there, for them, not to look cool.
Right.
Yeah. But so this next band that's like, I guess my number 2, I did see them by myself on this tour, and this is like one of the few times I've seen a band like twice on the same tour. And I saw them by myself, but the second time I went was with my aunt, so I figured that would count. It was Fleetwood Mac in 2013. Like I saw them by myself, I think at the United Center, and then she heard me talking about it. I was talking about it at my grandma's house, and she's like, well, let's go. So we looked at the next date, or the next closest one, and I think they were circling back the Chicago area. So they were coming back, I think, to like Rosemont, I think. But anyways, we like planned to go to that, and it still blew me away like the second time, and I think I might have gotten more into it because I remember this without looking at the set list. It's basically like a vivid memory. Like they played, like if you're familiar with Fleetwood Mac's albums at all, they had done some hits. Then they almost kind of did like a mini set where they did a bunch of songs from Tusk. They did another little mini set where it was acoustic songs with just Lindsay and Stevie. Then they brought the whole band out and they did like all the huge hits, and then they did their encore, and then so it was almost like 4 or 5 little mini sets, and it was just them for like 2.5 hours and no opening act. But I think I got more into it the second time because I was really looking forward to hearing the Tusk songs again, and then it seemed like that was the point of the show where people maybe went and got beer or like sat. I stayed up the whole time, and I was like, yeah, Tusk. And there was one guy in the row in front of me, and he was almost kind of playing air guitar to Tusk. And then like I think we were the only two, or like maybe he was behind me, but we were the only two that were like standing up. And so I turned around and gave him a high five. I was like, yeah.
Now, were there any hits on, like major hits on Tusk? Like
there was Tusk, like obviously. Then there was I don't know if there's any like hits that get like regular like rotation on radio around here, but like some of the Stevie songs were big. I think there was Sarah and like Sisters of the Moon, and they did both of those. And I think they did like a Lindsay one.
Okay. Well, Fleetwood Mac's one of the bands I only got into in very recent years. Like, I love Rumors. I know that's the go-to album everybody talks about, but I really love that one. And I like a lot of the other songs, but that's the one I've dug really deep into.
Yeah, because it was one of those things. I kind of got into them because of my aunt. Because it was like every like spring she seems to go to like a jazz fest, and I go over and I take care of her house. I used to like let her dog out, and then I bring the mail in, and I just do stuff around like house sitting basically. So I would kind of like I end up kind of raiding her music collection, and she had Rumors and I think Tango in the Night, and I borrowed them and I ripped them and copied them, and so it was kind of cool that then like a year or two later, here we are seeing the same band together.
Nice. Yeah, they're one I'm considering. If it's not sold out, I actually had forgotten about it. They're touring pretty local early next year that I've considered going to. Even though I know it's going to be weird, Lindsay not being on that tour, I still really want to go.
Yeah, they got Mike Campbell, I think, from Tom Petty and Heartbreak.
Yes. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. So I'm like, well, I'll still be an incredible guitarist. So still very much considering that.
Yeah, so they might do like Stop Dragging My Heart Around, or...
That would be cool, but I can't remember who the singer is that they got for it. I don't know how well his voice will work. I mean, obviously it's got to work with hers somewhat, because otherwise I know there's a lot of duets and stuff like that, but that's just going to be weird not hearing Tom Petty sing it, though. Will be the only thing.
Think of the guy's name, but it's the guy from Crowded House. I think he's like, so they replaced Lindsay with like 2 guys.
Yes.
So I can't think of his name though. But yeah, it was kind of different when I saw him because they had Stevie and Lindsay, but they didn't have Christy McVie, so they kind of didn't really do her songs. But I guess it gave more time for the Lindsay and Stevie stuff.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that she's been in and out, but I think she's currently back in.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Well, cool. Any other thoughts on the Fleetwood Mac show?
No, just that it blew my mind. It was like one of those ones that was still like a concert high.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. That's one of those classic bands that I know has got to be cool to see. Well, my next show, going chronologically, make sure I'm not wrong on that. Nope, I'm right. Will actually be a road trip show. Probably the craziest thing I've done as an adult.
Really?
Pretty high up there, yeah. I went to college for a long, long time, and so like I was basically like undergrad. I had to go to shows all the time, but grad school was a very busy, very stressful time, and I didn't get to catch shows because I had night classes and stuff like that, so that really messed me up. So basically, I just finished or was about done with the grad school. I got to see Metallica, and then in 2009, I just finished all my classes. All I had was just like an internship, and had just gotten hired on my first like full-time job, and I'd worked all throughout, but I don't know, it felt like what I call my big boy job. I'm air quoting that. And I remember my friend Sam calls me or texts me or whatever, and it's like, hey, Juliana Theory is getting back together for a reunion show. They're only doing 6 of them. He's like, would you be interested in going? I'm like, well, where are they playing? Well, they were hitting L.A. twice, I think New York twice. Then it was going to be Philly and Pittsburgh. Like, that was all. And well, I live in South Alabama. That's not exactly very close to us. My buddy Sammy was living up in Huntsville at the time. Not quite as bad of a drive from there. But he asked me. I'm like, let me think about it for a day. And then like the next day, I just look at it. I'm like, it's $25 was the ticket price. Like probably one of the cheapest shows definitely I've seen. And I'm like, that's incredible. I'm like, can we make it work though? It's like my car is old and crappy. I don't trust it making a like 14 or 18 hour drive. And he's like, well, I'll get a rental car if we have to, but let's do it. And so we booked the tickets like 10 months out, or no, 8 months out. And so like we just were really stoked for it. Asked a bunch of people. A lot of people couldn't make it because it was a significant time crunch to travel that far. But anyway, we turns out it ended up being my friend Sam, his brother Thomas, and myself. Drove up on a Thursday night to Huntsville after work, and we were actually supposed to leave Thursday night, or I think early Friday morning, but things delayed us, and we didn't leave until Friday night, or Friday afternoon, like 5 or 6 o'clock. And this is down in Huntsville, Alabama. We drove all night and got up to Pittsburgh around 6 or 7 in the morning. And it was so funny. Like I'd called the hotel at some point. I'm like, listen, we're coming. Please don't cancel our room or give it to somebody else. Like we'll be checking in. There's a lot of people are probably getting up, but we're coming. And anyway, we get up there, crash for maybe like 6 hours or so. It was a fun drive too. Like it was a lot of driving, but it was still just a lot of fun experience. Other than getting lost very briefly. As it was 2010, none of us had really invested in a GPS. Like Sam had written down all the instructions on paper, like from MapQuest or something, and we did so well. And until we hit Pittsburgh and we missed our turn, and like we freak out. But for once, I was the voice of calm, and I'm like, it's okay. Take the next exit. We'll pull over somewhere that looks safe, and we'll figure this out. It can't be that hard. And luckily, he had a smartphone, and we GPSed it and found out we were like 2 miles from where we needed to be. So we found our hotel. Anyway, the next day we get up after just a little bit of sleep, found a place to eat, and then we wanted to go find the venue because we were picturing it as being like Pittsburgh proper. We did not realize, technically, I think it was listed as Pittsburgh, but it's really Millville, which is kind of like a suburb outside of Pittsburgh. So when we drove there, like it's really not that, it's not that cityfied to us. Like it's really not that overwhelming or anything. But we're there, so we just kind of hang out, walk around the town. But literally, we found the venue probably about 3 or so hours before the show was going to start. And Thomas mentions, hey, that's the lead singer. And so we mob rush them. And the band was really cool about it. Like it was so funny. Their manager was like, dude, y'all can meet them after the show. And they're like, no, it's cool. We'll talk to them. So we actually got to take a picture with the 3 original members of Juliana Theory outside the venue way before the show. And so that was really cool. And I really appreciated that from the guys because definitely didn't have to do that. And some bands would probably, about duck inside just because they get so in the zone. And I know there's a lot to tour. Like there's a lot of pressure, a lot of stuff going on. But like that earned a really cool spot in my heart because I love Juliana Theory. But I didn't have the years of like hype for them like Sam did. Sam got into them like is when they came out in 98 or 99 and stayed huge into them until they broke up in 2006. I actually got into them around 2006. Lucky me, get into them and then find out they were broken up. But they did the reunion show, so we got to meet them real quick. But they had to go inside and set up, so we just toured around. Got to the show early, of course. One of the coolest experiences because they were only doing 6 shows, a lot of people drove really far to see them. So we're just trading stories with people outside the show. And for some reason we did the Zombieland thing instead of just breaking down necessarily names. We would just call people by the state or the city they came from. Which unfortunately for us, we were the Alabama boys or the Bama boys. And some people you could kind of hear a little bit of a condescension in that because Alabama has a little bit of a reputation, but whatever. Most people were cool about it, but there were a couple I'm like, whatever. But we were just calling everybody by their city or state. And like I said, we got there early, got to hang out. After the show, we got to move over closer to the merch table. So we got to take another picture with them and get an autograph. The whole point of the reunion show was partly to do a reunion show, but partly was to honor the 10-year anniversary of their biggest, maybe not their biggest album, but their fan favorite, Emotion is Dead from, what year was that from? I'm feeling dumb. I guess that was 2000. Yeah, because it was a 2010 show for the reunion. And so they played that in its entirety. They started with the fan favorite set. Then they did the entire Emotion is Dead. And then they did a 3-song encore. So during that, we decided we're going to get over closer to the stage or to the merch table so we can meet the band and or talk to them again. And so we did that. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't really big screen stuff going on or anything else. It was I think it's Mr. Small's Theater. It's kind of like a skate park and concert venue, and it actually I think it's an old church, so the acoustics are incredible. But it was it was cool seeing them in such a small venue, one of the smaller venue shows I'd gone to at the time, and I don't know, just such a cool experience. The only thing I hate about the experience was later on when we got back to the hotel, I was checking my email and saw that we actually could have hung out with the band even longer because they said they literally were not going to leave until they got kicked out.
Huh.
They were going to just hang out and stick around as long as you want. We did not realize that. I mean, still don't know if we could have done it because the venue I don't think really served a lot of food and we were starving. So we went to Pittsburgh, actual crazy city part of it, and found a little Italian and Euro shop and got those and then went back to our hotel and ate and then crashed only to have to head right back the next morning. So that's why I call it one of the craziest things because it's literally we leave Friday night and we come back Sunday night.
It was like a win kind of thing.
It was.
So you feel like you were on tour, I guess.
I guess that's probably the closest I know to how it feels to being on tour because, we didn't get to experience much of the life that goes around there. But it was, I don't know, like I said, it was kind of a spur of the moment thing, such a long, like I said, I think it was 12 or 13 hours from Huntsville. And I remember on the way back, we were just dead, but we still were on concert high and, was so good. I think I had some more time to crash that Monday. I didn't have to head right back, but his brother had school the next day. But yeah, have you ever listened to Juliana Theory? Or do you know who they are?
The name It sounds familiar.
They sometimes get classified into kind of indie emo rock. Sometimes they're more into. Some will put them into punk, but they're really not punk. Their first album is definitely more emo. Second one, the whole reason it's called Emotion Is Dead is because it was kind of poking fun at that, being classified as an emo band, and that was them experimenting, trying to be outside of it. There are two after that, they went way more arena rock style because they'd finally gotten signed to a major label. And then, not getting the success they wanted, they called it quits. But they're supposedly back together right now, working on an album. But it's been about a year, so I don't know. I'm hoping that happens. They did one reunion show again in 2017, and then started working on an album. They canceled the rest of the tour to work on the album, so hopefully that will happen. But yeah, if you haven't checked them out, they're definitely worth a listen. I could probably at a different time recommend better like intro songs to them, but they're a band that's near and dear to my heart. So sorry, I went on a long time about that, but what would be your third one?
My third one, going chronologically, it's actually another Wrigley Field show from 2015, the Foo Fighters.
Nice.
So it was one where they like announced it almost like a year before the show, because it was the Sonic Highway when they came out with the show on HBO. They did some show, I think, like over by Wrigley Field, like across the street at the Cubby Bear. And I think that was supposed to be, they did a show there, I think maybe the night of the HBO premiere or something.
Nice.
And around there was like all this hype. And so they announced Foo Fighters for the following year, like summer at Wrigley Field. So it was weird how you got the tickets in the fall and then had to wait almost like 11 months actually for the show. So it was like a weird wait time. And I kind of went through a phase. I was like super hyped then. Then I kind of that's so long away. I think I'll put them on the back burner and I'll listen to some other bands. Well, then I kind of circled back to them and got rehyped. And then I kind of was getting closer to the show and stuff. So it's like one of those weird things where you're hyped and then you kind of cool off and you get hyped again.
Yeah.
But I'd actually bought tickets with a buddy of mine. He lives up in Wisconsin too, so he was going to drive down and I was going to drive up. Well, it turns out in the year that passed or something, or closer to the show time, he got free tickets he got free tickets from his radio station. So he sold them to my buddies, because I had two friends that rode along with me, so they bought his other two seats.
No,
and then
that's good. It's good you were able to probably get a decent resale value as opposed to StubHub or something that could rip you off.
I think he just sold them for maybe $20 each, so he didn't really he didn't care to make a whole bunch of money back. I think he just got some T-shirt money from that. But yeah, it was cool. So then I got to make a road trip with my friends who are high school buddies, and I've since become coworkers with them. And so we all rode up together, and then we had opposite seats, we were kind of a couple rows in front of them. But then there were some other guys I know online. I think Steve was there too, and he had a seat way up in the top, the very last row. So I thought my friend and I we walked up to go say hi to Steve, and we made it all the way up to the top, said hi to him, and then came back down to our seats. And the second there was a few seconds right after we made it back to our seats, the show started. It was weird. We went through the whole stadium in the whole 30-minute set change over time.
Oh, okay, cool.
I made it back down I don't know. But then the show, oh man, it was awesome. They did all the hits. They did covers. I don't know if you've seen them recently or not.
Not recently, but I have seen them before.
Yeah, they kind of do a thing now where Dave Grohl introduces all the band members, and he's like, "Hey, this is Pat Smear," and then he does a little thing on the guitar, and then they announce he announces each different guy, so they kind of do a cover or a snippet of a cover. And one of the snippets they did was Alice Cooper, and so I thought that was cool. I'm like, hey, I get to hear a new Alice Cooper song. And then I think they might have actually done a full version of like "Miss You" by the Rolling Stones with Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah, I remember they were doing that a lot. I watched a lot of YouTube clips from that tour, and I saw some footage of that.
It was just another thing where I got to hang out with friends and then see a band for the first time. And then one of the opening bands was Cheap Trick, so I got to see them for the first time too.
Yeah, I remember they actually, for that tour, I thought it was cool. They were bringing in a lot of people from that guested on the show, Sonic Highway's show, and I thought that was a really cool. I really considered going to one of the shows up north just to catch one of the more hyped, like better set list things, but didn't work out.
Yeah, because it worked out too. Where I think Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick, he was on Something from Nothing. He like played guitar on that song. So then they were opening for him, and he came out and he played guitar with them during that song.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Yeah, I remember there was that one, and there was one other one up north that had an incredible set list. Like so many people from the Sonic Highways that I know would have had to make it like even extra special.
Yeah, there was one, I think, now that you're talking about set lists and stuff, there was one where they played, like, it was last summer, I think, they announced a show at, like, a tiny club in Chicago, because I think it was, like, Lollapalooza weekend, and they do, like, after shows and stuff at these tiny clubs in Chicago, and I think they announced the Foo Fighters, and it, like, sold out in, like minutes or seconds or something. But I remember looking at the set list, and they had like Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction came out, and he like sang with them on a song. And I think it was like mostly covers and stuff. They were just jamming, I guess, having fun.
Well, I know sometimes the drummer Taylor, he does his little side project Chevy Metal, but like Dave is part of most of that now. Like a lot of times anyway, we just kind of go out and they do nothing but covers. And I know sometimes they'll play songs they really don't know that well because it's just them having fun. I've seen some footage of that. I can't remember where it was, but it was some little club they played.
Yeah, the one thing about those guys, too, is like, I think on their actual tours, like the set seems to be like basically the same now. They kind of do that, but they make it fun because they'll I guess they'll carry out their songs and like turn them into like 6-minute jams or something. So they're kind of strict with sticking to the set, but then they'll kind of go off and like do extended solos and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, well the footage I've seen of them, they do that a lot, and I love that because I don't want to just hear the album. I want to hear something special about seeing it live.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. As you know, I love Foo Fighters. I did an episode a while back about them. They're one of my top modern bands. So cool. Anything else about the show? Or
I remember too. It was like raining off and on that day, and it kind of like stopped like right before they were playing, and then I think it picked up again like during their set. But I kind of didn't care because I'm like, yeah, I was rocking out, so the rain didn't bother me like I thought it would.
Right. Well, that actually flows in great into my next one because it is one I briefly, well, maybe not so briefly, but whatever. It's one of my favorites, so I'm going to mention again. I know it's actually Alter Bridge. And I know Greg and I mentioned it on our episode we did together. But I've seen Alter Bridge 3 times, but I still think my favorite's the first. And that was at the Cannery Ballroom in Nashville in 2011. So this would have been on the Alter Bridge 3 tour. And Nashville, not such a bad drive, but it was one that we made extra effort to go to because of we wanted them to be the headliners. Because I know Atlanta, they were only playing, they were like maybe not first, but like second opener. So they were like 2 other bands that were going to play after them. So I knew it was going to be like a really small set list in Atlanta, and it was expensive at an outdoor venue that I'm not very fond of. So I remember we just kept checking the tour list and saw Nashville that they were headlining. So we're like, yeah, we're doing that. Probably be a little bit more, well, definitely more expensive gas-wise, but definitely worth the drive. So we drove up, I guess, from down here maybe about 6 hours. But luckily, once again, having a friend in North Alabama, we were able to crash with him the night before. So I think it about like 2.5 hour drive the day of. Drove up to Nashville. Didn't really get to do a whole lot of sightseeing, but I got pretty good spots, standing room only, like 1,000 capacity little venue, if that. But being late May in the South, it was so incredibly hot. So no, we weren't wet from rain, but pouring sweat the whole time. But really didn't think about it a whole lot once Alter Bridge got on stage. Like during the openers, I was aware of being hot and crowded. But by the time Alter Bridge got on stage, I didn't care. We were just having a good time. So didn't matter that I was getting bumped into. Normally that bothers me. Didn't bother me. And none of it. It was just a lot of fun. And seeing them on that tour was just... Alter Bridge has always been good, but they were really getting good by that point and really branching out, doing a lot of different stuff. And so really cool seeing them on that. They actually played 20 songs on that show, which I think is pretty impressive. And according to my little thing, it looks like the majority of it was actually from Blackbird, which is still my favorite Alter Bridge album. And then I did 6 from AB3 and then 5 from One Day Remains. So really cool time to see them. And I don't think they sounded the best then, but it was just something about the experience of seeing them live in a small venue that just made that extra special. I mean, they sounded great, but it wasn't. There was something that was. It feels like there was something that was a little off of that show, but we didn't care. And I know I have a recording of that. I really need to listen to that recording again because I know that was one of the tours they were recording at every show they played, and you could like just stick around for 30 minutes after and get a copy.
Oh, cool.
For like I think it was $20. And really cool thing about they just gave it to you on like a little cheapo USB drive, but then later they would mail you out a fancy USB drive that looked just like Mark's PRS guitar, and so so I have that in my little merch box in my spare room. But that's a prized possession of mine. Is that little thing? But I need to show again. I haven't listened to that show in a long time, but that was really cool to be able to re-experience it over and over again. And I did in that year or so following it a lot. And that became like I said, I've seen them 2 other times, and they're one of those bands I plan to see them as many times as I can. I was trying to think if there's anything else about it. No, not really coming to mind. So any thoughts on that? I'm betting they're on your list at some point.
Ooh. No, like I really wanted to include them, but I did not. And I've seen Miles with like Slash too.
Okay.
I didn't have him on there either. So some people who really know me would probably expect that to make my list, but there's somebody else who people would expect that is on my list too.
Okay.
So.
Well, I almost want to end the show right there. Just like, nope, we're done.
Because I failed?
Yes. Your list. I'm judging your list right now. I'm like, nope, you didn't include Alter Bridge. Mm-mm.
Well, the thing is like one other restriction. Like I said, I wanted to do only shows where I was with like friends,
right?
Not solo concerts. So I was cutting out a few. Well, then I didn't want to include any shows where I got free tickets from like the radio station, or I got meet and greets, or I got to do some. I didn't want to seem like I'm like bragging, like just talking about meeting bands.
Oh no, that's not
so
bad
like
at all.
I did like so I purposely cut that out for myself or something. And so like I've seen them, and I almost fangirled or fanboyed out over Miles Kennedy a couple times, and like. Embarrassed myself, or at least I felt like I embarrassed myself because I'm overthinking. But yeah, so I've seen Miles plenty of times, and I got to meet him and stuff.
Nice. He's still one I haven't got to meet yet. I've been able to meet Tremonti twice at Tremonti solo shows, but I haven't gotten to ever meet Miles. I'm pretty jealous actually at one of the Tremonti shows that I saw. That actually, if I had ventured around during the show, I would have gotten to meet Brian Marshall because he was just chilling out just to support his buddy because it was down in Florida, and I think Brian still lives in Florida when he's not with the band, and so he just happened to show up. One of my internet friends, he later was bragging about he actually got so lucky. He actually got to meet Mark by the bus and get a picture with him before the show, and then ended up running into Brian Marshall. I'm like, dude, that's so awesome. Like, we got to meet him, but it was like in a very quick capacity because it wasn't like pay extra for a meet and greet. It was just buy a piece of merch.
Yeah.
And there were no pictures just to keep it from taking forever.
To kind of thin it out, I guess, a little bit.
Well, yeah, because the time I saw Tremonti, one of the times, he was co-headlining with Blackstone Cherry, and they had agreed to both share equal time. So I think he was just he definitely didn't want to like spend 3 hours of meet and greet and then have Blackstone Cherry go on. That wouldn't be fair to their fans or to them. So had to kind of keep it moving. But anyway, didn't mean to get off topic there. But yeah, I'm really blown away, but completely okay. I'm not judging your list for real. I just had to pick at you a little bit because I know you'd sent me a message saying I bet Miles will be on there somewhere.
There's one thing that I'll add about Alter Bridge is like, I don't know if it's because like a certain show that I went to or just that, like, I don't know if you've heard about this guy because you're like a friend, but they have a guy named Tim who I guess is like, he works with Fret 12, which is a company.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Runs, and the guy, his name's Tim. He's been out on the road with Miles on the solo tour, like as his tour manager kind of thing. But he also has worked with Mark on his solo stuff, like Tremonti. He's like, I think he started actually with Alter Bridge to go back as like a roadie or a guitar tech for Mark. Then he turned into like the tour manager. And he's like very hands-on in the Alter Bridge world or organization or something. Like he does like all this stuff. So I'm friends with him on Facebook, and it seems like there's a lot of Alter Bridge fans that follow him and know him on a first-name basis. And so it seems to me that Alter Bridge is one of those bands where like every fan feels important or feels like a number one fan, or they go out of their way to make them like seem like everybody's like, on the same level. Or something. I don't know. It just seems like they're very fan-oriented, and that's what I like about them.
Oh, they definitely are. Mark is definitely I've met too many majorly famous people, but he's definitely the most down-to-earth person I ever met. And the fact that he actually got me to repeat myself when I said something was impressive because most people would have just been like nodding and be like, all right, and just move on to the next person. But he wasn't that way at all.
Oh, cool.
I want to say Tim might have been in Man the Mighty briefly.
Yes, that's how he. It was like a local band kind of thing in Chicago, I guess, or like that's how like I found out about him because when I saw him in Chicago, they had Man the Mighty opening, and then there was a show like outside of Chicago. It was like Seven Dust was playing at some bar. And, like, I saw that guy, and I kind of, like, remember faces, but not names or anything. And so I actually approached that guy, and I was like, hey, did you play in the band that opened for Alter Bridge, like, back in the spring? And he's like, yeah. And he started telling me about, like, Fret 12 and what he was almost like Mark's, like, right-hand man, I guess.
Right. Yeah, when I saw Tremonti the first time, Man the Mighty opened for him. And so I've seen him around, and I think I definitely knew he did the Fret 12 stuff. That's pretty cool that he tours around with them. So who is your next band?
The next guy is I've seen him like 7 times now, and the one time that's like my favorite of all time, like from seeing the guy, it's Alice Cooper. And he came to Peoria like 2 years ago, and I was like super like pumped up for this show, and they were playing in a theater in town, and like the theater has like seats, like rows in there, and but up front of the stage they have something that's like an orchestra pit. So the first 3 rows when they do rock shows there, they'll put like chairs in there, and there's no like guardrail. So I guess if you can kind of envision the space between the stage and the guardrail at a normal show, that's what would be in this orchestra pit. And I'm like, I have to get as close as possible for Alice Cooper. Like, I want to do it. And so the day of the show, or the day that tickets went on sale, I asked my boss or something if I could, if I went into work early, if I'd be able to leave and go to the box office and get tickets and then just come back. And he's like, all right, okay, yeah, you can come in like an hour early and like you can leave for like that half an hour or something. So I got over at the box office like about 15 minutes or so before they went on sale, and there's like I think like 2 or 3 guys in front of me, and I'm like, oh man, I wanted to be first. You know, I wanted to be first and get front row, but I still ended up getting front row anyways, and it worked out. And it was like so awesome being there in the front row. Like I'm basically like standing so close where I'm like leaning on the stage, but it was almost so like weird because you're like looking like straight up at them. And it was almost kind of like intimidating, you know, being like that. I'm like, am I supposed to be this close? I feel like I shouldn't be here or something. But it was just like an awesome experience. And how I said I went with friends. All these shows I went with friends. Like there was a coworker of mine who I worked like late nights with at a printing company, and he was like a super Alice Cooper fan going back to when he was a kid in the 70s. And I'm like, well, the next time he comes around, I'm buying the tickets, and I'll even buy your ticket, and we'll go. And so his mind was blown, like being that like up close, and it worked out too because like one of my friends, Jim. Who I've seen a lot of area shows with, and we've traveled and stuff. He was there with his son, and they were a couple rows behind us. But he's like he kind of follows one of the girls on like Twitter or Instagram, so he knows like a fan club girl. I think there's a girl that like runs one of the fan clubs or something. So he got kind of in on that. And so, like the one guy, Ryan Roxy, that's like Alice Cooper's guitar player. Mm-hmm. He like does his own personal free like meet and greets either before or after the show. And so, like the group of us that was there, we were all just like hanging out with Ryan after the show, and like it seemed like a really private like meet and greet thing because it was basically just us and a couple other people. And my friend Jim, he like I said, he got kind of to know Nita Strauss, her like I think fan club runner or like whatever you want to call it. So she came out, and it was cool that she was actually like talking to him and almost maybe knew him on a first name basis. So it's another thing where the musicians are really down to earth and like mingling, and like you're getting some FaceTime with them instead of just I'm doing the like meet and greet where you rush and shake hands and it's over.
Right. Is that how most meet and greets are, though? Is the really rushed, even if you pay extra for it?
Yeah, because I've done some like through the radio station, or I've done some I paid for, or at Comic Cons, and sometimes they do. They seem really rushed, like you're waiting in line, and you get up there, and you just got enough time to shake their hand, and then get the signature or a picture, and then it's over.
Yeah, that's what I've always been afraid of, and that's why I've never been able to bring myself to pay the extra $100 that a lot of them charge for the meet and greets, because I'm like, dude, if I'm not getting much time, I don't know if I'm going to pay that much extra.
Yeah. Or I've done it too, where I've actually done the thing where I hung outside somebody's bus and met them that way too.
Right.
But no, I guess it's like Ryan Roxy, that's in Alice Cooper's band. He like does this for every show. It's called the International Rock and Roll Parking Lot, and there's like a Facebook page for it, and he'll update it and be like, "Hey, I'm going to be out by the bus, or I'll be out at the merch stand," and then, he just takes time to like talk to people, and he like teaches guitar. Like he's got videos online, like video tutorials. So he hands out cards for that and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. He just seems really cool, and it seemed like he remembered me. Like another time we did that too.
Nice. Yeah, it is amazing to me sometimes what they will remember if you do get a bit of FaceTime with them. No matter what their level of fame is, some of them do seem to remember. And he's the one that you mentioned earlier that had the new album that you got into, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I've never been front row at any major show. The only one I've ever been at was like a really small like church show of a Christian rock band that I loved at the time, which I will name because they actually made it a big mainstream. That's the word. And that's Skillet. I actually got to see them back before they were like known at all outside of just the Christian community.
Oh wow, yeah, they've headlined around here like a lot of times.
Yeah. I saw them in 2003 at a youth camp, really, and it was just hilarious because like none of the youth knew who they were, but we were like 19 and in college, and we were huge into them. So like we drove up just for that. So we were right there at the, and I don't even want to call it stage. It was just like, but in front of a church basically, and that was pretty cool. But never an actual like big concert have I ever got to be up front row.
Yeah, that's one thing you were talking about with Metallica, like being on the floor. Like I was on the floor for some arena shows and stuff, and I was always afraid to like, get up close because hey, like these bands, fans are going to be rowdy or like moshing and stuff. But so I don't usually get up that close either. But I kind of thought since the Alice Cooper thing, there's seats, and it's a venue like that. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try and get as close as possible.
Oh yeah,
and accomplished.
Nice. Yeah, with seats, I wouldn't be that would be fine. That wouldn't bother me at all. It's just the open room area of some show. I've just seen some crazy crap happen, and I'm like, nope. I know Metallica. There were just a couple. I call it idiot fans that were just like really being overly aggressive, and I think a couple people around them were enjoying it, but the others you could kind of tell were like giving them room because they didn't want to get hit. And I'm like, I don't. That's not my style. Like I jump around, but I'm not going to bump into people, and I'm definitely not going to hit people, not purposely anyway.
Yeah, I almost like my personal space too. Like I need to have elbow room.
Yes, I want to, and like I said, that's why that Nashville show was so shocking that it's my favorite of the Alter Bridge ones because we were sardines in there, and I know it was funny. Greg actually somehow got away from us a little bit. It was me, him, and Russell. And so me and Russell just stayed put with each other, but Greg kind of moved with the crowd at some point and got further up. But we were getting bumped into a lot. But people were very nice about that. Like if we got bumped into, it wasn't anything major, and it wasn't, luckily no elbows to the face or anything. But I think it helps with stuff like Alter Bridge. People are more just like doing the devil horns and headbanging. They're not really, thrashing.
Air guitar, I guess.
Right. So my fourth one is the Foo Fighters that you previously mentioned. I saw them in 2011. Actually, 2011 is probably one of my favorite years in life. I won't get off on all the things in 2011 that were awesome, but two of my favorite shows were from that year. Only like 6 months apart, I think. Well, actually, I have it pulled up, so Google can tell me. 6 months apart, or no, 7 months apart, whatever. No, 6. I'm bad with math, apparently. November 7th, 2011, saw Foo Fighters on the Waste in Light tour.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, that if you listen, spoiler alert, if you go back and listen to my Foo Fighters list, I think it's like my second favorite Foo Fighter or third favorite Foo Fighters album. It's really high up there, depending on the time. Like with any band, it's depends on the mood I'm in at the time where I'm going to rate them. But episode, I know there's a lot of not some old episodes, but episode 3, Russell and I counted down our favorite Foo Fighter albums, and but yeah, Waste in Light, we got to see him on. Well, actually, crap, Russell didn't get to go to that one. It was me, Greg, our friend Garner. No, Garner didn't go. Crap, I'm misremembering. Anyway, me, Greg, our buddy Sam, and buddy Keith, and Matt. That's who it was. So Greg's the only one you would know, I think. Got to go see Foo Fighters, and this is probably might be my favorite concert experience. That is because it's one of the times I was brave enough to be on the floor and venture up close. We didn't get there even early. That was a crazy thing about it. Like, we made a wrong turn. It was in Atlanta. Well, actually, technically outside Atlanta, in Duluth, Georgia, which is a little smaller. Which is, I keep wanting them to play that venue again because it was a pretty cool venue. Because it was an arena, but it wasn't huge. But anyway, we got there. We'd made a wrong turn, so we were really bummed out. Thinking we were in a really crappy area, like the very back of this standing room. But we got there, and one of the security guys was just like, "Hey guys, go to the other side of the stage. It's not as crowded." Because you probably saw, I guess it was like that. Does he still have the middle part that he runs down? Did he have that the Foo Fighters show you saw?
Well, the one that I saw at Wrigley, a couple of years ago, was when he broke his leg, so he was on the Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
I did see him again recently, and they do have kind of a longer runway, I guess.
Yeah. So this security guy told us to go to the other side of the runway, and I guess people just weren't noticing that was less crowded on that side. So we got maybe 10 people back or so from the stage, and just staked out our area, and it was 5 or 6 of us, and we stayed in the area. And I remember we got there, Joy Formidable just finished. They played jammed out on their last song, and they did a good job. Not huge into them, I like them. But then, Social Distortion was the next band. And so it was really cool. It was kind of like a culture clash almost. You got all these people that are on our age, but then you also have these people that are 20 years older that are huge Social Distortion fans that are there. And just Social D, going crazy about them. And Social Distortion, they're cool, but I'm just not nearly as big into them. So I want to say I went and took a bathroom break during them. No offense towards them, but it was just one of those things that, luckily with there being so many of us, we could kind of keep our little spot, pretty safe. And at least spot the people from a while way back, because my buddy Matt's 6'2" or so he kind of, or 6'3", he stands out a little bit in the crowd. But yeah, we got to see them, and like I said, the people were rocking out for Social D. But the coolest thing is because that Dave comes out further from the band, and not terribly far down the walkway, but by the time we got to there, we were maybe 5 from him or so. We were ridiculously close. I'm sure in reality he didn't make eye contact with me, but it almost felt like he did. And that's just a cool part of that experience. Got a lot of good pictures without having to do any massive zoom because of him coming out closer, and just really cool. I was jumping around the whole show. Luckily, Foo Fighters is not really mosh. There were some crowd surfers. Almost got kicked in the head, but luckily was able to stop that because I just kind of put my hand up and grabbed his foot to keep it from hitting me in the face, and kind of just stopped him there, and he came down. Didn't get hurt or anything, but it was just one of those things. There weren't enough people close around me. I sure wasn't going to catch him completely on my own, so I kind of stopped him before he completely got to me. But luckily about that tour, he was doing the whole jamming out thing on several songs. I unfortunately had kind of ruined some of the surprises of the covers he was doing for that tour, because I'd gotten way too hyped into it and was looking at all the set lists, because by that point I discovered Setlist FM, the website, which is actually what I'm currently using, because all my shows except for one were on it. But anyway, they opened with 2 songs from Waste and Light, Bridge Burning and Rope, which is the opening 2 tracks of the album, and they worked so well live. So incredible. But they played so many things. They did the band introduction thing that you mentioned. Actually did it to Cold Day in the Sun for Taylor to sing lead on. Did a really cool thing with Stacked Actors, which is still one of my favorites. I think that's the one that Dave and Chris kind of did a little riff off a little bit to jam into that one, which was cool. But they did covers, Pink Floyd's In the Flesh. And they briefly did Blackbird, the Beatles, just a little tease to that. And this is actually what I'm going to credit more than anything with getting me to check out more Tom Petty. The beginning of it was they covered Breakdown.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And like I'd heard the song before. Obviously, you can't listen to classic rock radio ever without hearing Breakdown. But that just really sold me on it. And I was like, I got to get bigger into them. And so I think that was when I got the greatest hits and then really started diving even crazier into them. But anyway, sorry, this is Foo Fighters. They just such an incredible experience. I remember Dave and Taylor did a little tease backstage, like where they went for the encore, and they're like doing this like little, I want to say it was almost green or black and white, just tour footage where they're backstage like asking how many songs we won for an encore and telling us to yell louder and louder. Like that's really going to make them play more songs. I mean, maybe it would, but honestly, they were going to play a big encore. But according to this, and it sounds about right with memories, it's a 7-song encore.
Whoa.
Yeah, he came out just soloed, did the little Blackbird intro from Beatles, then went straight into Acoustic Wheels, and then of course Best of You he did acoustic, which he does a lot. And then Times Like These he starts out acoustic and then the band comes back in, and that's incredible. It's getting to hear it both ways, kind of the best of both worlds. And then they bring it down with Dear Rosemary, Breakdown, and then of course Everlong was the outro. But such a cool thing, and that's definitely probably the longest I've seen a band play, just like one band. Like it was at least 2.5, 2 and 40, something like that. I think so. It was a really long set list, and we were sweating like crazy, but really good spot. Like I said, we were pretty close to them, and just one of the most memorable moments. That's kind of why I haven't been stoked for like some of the other shows, because some of them have been bigger places, and I knew there was no way I could get closer. And I have nothing against sitting in the stands, but that just, for bands like Foo Fighters, I really would love to be on the ground if I can. But big as Foo Fighters are, they sell out pretty quick, at least the really good spots.
Yeah. I think the Wrigley Field show, we were like home plate, maybe the lower level, but still kind of back in that section though. We weren't down.
Well, I mean, they're a band. The way they play, I mean, you can get into them no matter where you are.
Yeah.
But there was just something beautiful about being that close. That I don't know, made it feel a little more intimate. But I mean, Dave, he makes a ton of effort to try to make you included, especially when he's able-bodied and able to do that. I still think it's cool that he didn't cancel that tour and did it from the throne. I almost saw him in Atlanta again on that tour, but ended up opting out due to price, and I want to say it was a day show. And I burn easy, and I did not really want to cake on sunscreen just to hang outside all day for the concert. So didn't end up biting the bullet and buying the tickets in time for that, but that would have been the Sonic Highways tour.
Man, yeah, I'm jealous because I love Wasting Light, so it's cool you got to hear Dear Rosemary.
Yes, that was one I was like when I was thinking of what I wanted to hear off the album, and yeah, I'd seen some of the spoilers of what most likely was going to be there, but I definitely wanted Bridge Burning Rope and Dear Rosemary. Actually, the concert made me fall in love with Walk. Up until that point, I'd liked Walk, but not as much. But,
really? Oh, yeah. That's like my favorite one on there.
It's a lot of people's favorites. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that it gives me goosebumps when I hear it.
It does now. It definitely does. Like, I liked it, but I don't know. I think I got a little too... It wasn't as heavy as some of the other parts of the album, and it was more repetitive lyrically, and so at the time, I guess I was just overly analyzing it or something, and didn't just let my emotions take over. And once I let that, yeah, it's a great song. I don't usually analyze lyrics a whole lot, but sometimes I stupidly get into that. And I think that's kind of where I was with Walk for some stupid reason. when it first came out. But hearing it live, oh man, yeah. But I have to say, sorry, one more thing about it. My fan, I'll call it fangirl, fanboy, whatever moment, I get so excited for this song, and that is probably biggest one would have been Breakout. Like Stacked Actors and Breakout were probably my big moments. Like, I don't know, I just have always loved the Flying Breakout, but Breakout was just kind of something special about it to me.
Was it the Jim Carrey movie maybe that did it? Because I think that was linked to the Me, Myself, and Irene.
Yes. Oh, I love the video. That definitely vividly plays in my memory of back when I started watching MTV again, was allowed to, or was thinking it, or whatever I was doing at the time. I loved that video.
Oh man, I feel like I could have done a whole show on like Foo Fighters too.
Yeah, sorry, I know I went on about that one. That's just one of my favorite. As anybody that knows me knows, that's one of my favorite bands, and definitely, probably other than Alter Bridge, and maybe Metallica, probably one of the bands I know ridiculous amounts about and read most every interview about and everything. It's just crazy. Like, I'll just get on YouTube and watch stuff. Like the Waste and Light tours. Like, did you ever watch any of the footage of the house shows they did?
No, I didn't. I didn't. But I was super hyped for that album though.
Yeah, that was the tour that they did. Like, I think they did a contest where it was only like 6 people won it, but they did like 6 house shows, and they recorded them all. And like, they used to be able to find them on YouTube. I watched most of them. It was pretty cool. One of the guys at one of the shows, like, he went out and jammed with them a couple of times.
No, cool. Yeah, I'll have to look that up too. I'll have to add that to the list now. Julian Theory, and then Father Son.
Yeah.
Now Foo Fighters house shows.
Yeah, like I said, if you can find it, it's fun. I mean, it's, obviously not going to be your best recording ever, but I just cannot imagine having like them in your house, whether it be your garage or your yard or whatever. Like, one was in a barn, I want to say, of somebody's house, outside their house, and it was like 20, like them and 20 friends or something. It would definitely be the ultimate experience. But anyway, I've gone on enough. What is your last band you want to talk about? Last concert experience.
My last one, yeah, it's it was kind of special to me because I've seen Alice Cooper like a bunch of times already, and then he put out like a solo project, it's like a cover band with Joe Perry and Johnny Depp, and they're called the Hollywood Vampires. I don't know if you heard of that, but they did like classic rock covers, and even on that tour where I saw Alice Cooper here in Peoria, it was like 2016. Like, part of the end of his set was a bunch of those covers. Too, like, I think he covered The Doors and The Who and a David Bowie song, and then they went into their little encore and stuff. But now, like, I found out, because I'm like super into Alice Cooper, he has like a charity based in Phoenix, where he lives, and I have relatives who are in Phoenix, and his charity is like, I think it's Rock Solid, and every year they do like a benefit concert called Alice Cooper's Christmas Pudding, and yeah,
that's a great name. Sorry, that's caught me off guard.
It's more than just a concert though. It's like a variety show, because I went to it in 2016. Like, I guess I had some money and I had some time off from work, and I called my uncle. And I'm like, hey, like, they just announced this Christmas pudding. Like, would you want to go? Like, and would you want to go? And is it okay if I fly out and spend like the weekend with you? And they said, yeah, it was okay to come out. And he was like, I'm really going to go to the show, because it wasn't just the Hollywood Vampires. They had Korn opened up, the Gin Blossoms, Sammy Hagar. So it was a really weird
Hold
mix.
on. Gin Blossoms and Sammy Hagar. That's really cool. I love the Gin Blossoms, so that's the kind of oddball there, but I like that.
Yeah, it was really odd. And then they had like a magician, and so sets like before the show started, and I think after Korn, he did another thing. And then a part of Alice Cooper's charity is he does stuff for teens. It's like the Rock Solid like teen center. And so it's kind of like a fine arts, I think, academy maybe. And they kind of like, if kids are interested in music, they'll teach them, I guess, how to play instruments. I'm not really too familiar, but he's really like a stand-up guy when he's not Alice Cooper. Like, he plays golf and he does a lot of charity work and stuff. And so they had like a contest too for the kids in that program. They did a battle of the bands, and so the winning like teenage band got to open up the show, and I think they did 2 songs. And then there was a solo winner and a girl. She came out and played acoustic and like sang 2 songs. So, and they even had like an auction too, auctioned off stuff. So it was like a really weird kind of concert variety show thing with the magician and stuff.
That's really cool.
And then how you said like Metallica, they did In the Round, and they had that stage that rotated. I guess the theater that this was at, it's like the stage is, it's built to do that because it's like a circular theater, and like the stage rotates, so everybody got a good view. And it was like so hilarious because when Sammy Hagar was on stage, he was like drinking because that's like his thing. He drinks on stage. Right. He's like, I'm an old guy. You can't confuse me because you were over there for the first song and now you're over there for this song. But then he's like, I know where all the ladies are though. So he's like a creepy kind of grandpa, I guess.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I watched his, I can't remember which network it's on, but he's got a little concert series type thing, a little interview show. Have you ever watched any of that before?
No, but I've heard about it, and I think it might have been before that, before going to the concert. I was watching, maybe I actually did see an episode of that, or he was on the Daryl's House thing. I think it might have been an episode of that, though, but he was wearing...
Daryl Hall?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't watch that show more. I know I've seen a little bit of it, but I forget about it.
Whatever program, I was sorry to get way off on this tangent thing, but when I saw Sammy Hagar on this TV show, he was just wearing a T-shirt and sunglasses and like flip-flops and sweatpants, and I'm like, he's like a rock and roll version of the Big Lebowski.
That's awesome.
And that's how he was on stage at that show. And it was weird. Like all the opening bands, like Gin Blossoms and Korn and Sammy Hagar, they all did like 5 songs each. And then Alice Cooper, the Hollywood Vampires, they got a full like hour-long set.
Nice. Yeah, I got excited when you said Joe Perry. I love Joe Perry. Aerosmith was probably like the second or third band I got into, so at least rock band. So always holds a special place in my heart.
Oh yeah, I like Aerosmith. I've never seen them live. It was cool for that show because how they did covers. I think they covered a couple Aerosmith songs too.
Awesome. Yeah, I've considered going to one of the Joe Perry shows, as I know occasionally Steven Tyler would just pop up occasionally to do encore at some solo Joe Perry shows. Even when they were on the outs, I remember reading an article about that apparently there was one show that that Joe didn't know that Steven was going to, and Steven just kind of pops in backstage like, "Hey, you ready to do it?" That sounds totally like Steven too. Just decide the last minute, yeah, I'll do it. So that would be kind of, if that was a nice surprise. But no matter what, Steven's seeing there's my words. Seeing Joe Perry would be awesome. So that's really cool. Alice Cooper, I've always heard great things about. One of my college professors loves Alice Cooper anytime he comes anywhere near shows. So I should check him out one of these days, like live. I just haven't.
Yeah, you have to, because even if you're, I kind of feel like even if you're not totally familiar with all the songs, there's some like School's Out or like No More Mr. Nice Guy, but then it's like a visual thing. Like all of his band members are moving around on stage, and he's got the props and stuff. There's always something going on in the show, and it moves so fast.
Nice. Doesn't he have the song I'm 18 as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's really good. I remember I first got into that one after Creed covered it, and then I later heard Alice Cooper's version. Well, really cool. Go ahead, sorry.
Kind of found that too. Like, I've gotten into bands because a band I like has covered them.
Right. Well, okay, I got to make the decision. I guess I'm going to go with the one that's a little bit more of a I guess it's a better story. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. The one that's going to win out is the last one I'll talk about is Third Eye Blind. Got to see them in 2013. I loved Third Eye Blind in the 90s. Got into some of their later stuff. Then kind of didn't really think about it for a while. But like I'm part of a music group, not like a band, but like music group on Facebook where we share music all the time. And like one of the guys on there was always sharing different songs from their first album, and like helping me recognize some of the greatness of some of the songs that maybe I didn't recognize or the greatness of at the time. Songs like God of Wine and Motorcycle Drive By and all that kind of stuff. And so I just really started getting back into Third Eye Blind. And it's my friend Jeremy Henderson. He was on one of the episodes a while back. So we were, I guess when that show got announced, they were going to do a reunion show kind of after a little bit of a break, or at least not down here. They'd done a show that Russell, me, and my buddy Keith decided to go check out Third Eye Blind. So we got to go to one of my favorite venues of all time, definitely for the area in Atlanta, is the Tabernacle. It is an old church. It was like a 3-story church from early 1900s, I want to say, that from what I understand was like nothing for a lot of years after the church stopped. But then it got remodeled maybe early 2000s or late 90s, I'm not sure, and became a concert venue. And oh my gosh, it is a really cool experience. I've seen Alter Bridge there. I've seen Manchester Orchestra there. But this time I saw Third Eye Blind was actually my first time going. There's really not a bad seat, unless I guess you're at the very top. But like the way the tiers are, you can see pretty well no matter what. Even though you're like way high up above them, you're still not terribly far from the stage. And pretty good acoustics. I think that show probably had the best acoustics of any of them, because sometimes they mix a little too heavy, at least in the upper rafter, that sometimes you can't really hear everything perfectly. But Third Eye Blind did a great job, and a band as big as Third Eye Blind, especially us kids from the 90s, there's just some songs everybody knows. And so the coolest thing I think from that show, or one of the coolest, was at some point during Never Let You Go, people started like singing along guitar, like not the lyrics, but like singing the lead guitar part. And so he like stops the music for a second just to have us sing it. And that was just such a cool experience. And then this, I think about 2,500 is what you can fit in there, church. And it just echoes so well. It was beautiful. So that was cool. And then they're really filthy but fun song, Slow Motion. Everybody sang along with that, and that was kind of, I don't want to call it acoustic, but I do think it was like mainly just him on guitar, or maybe him on vocals and just the guitarist. It was pretty quiet. That was pretty cool too because of the acoustics. You could just hear everybody. But it was a cool experience. They mostly played their first album, which is of course their biggest, but they kind of teased their first comeback album since like 2008 or so. It came out in 2015, Dopamine. I could be wrong on the year, but whatever. They were teasing that album by then and playing like early versions of a couple of the songs. So that was pretty cool. And so I don't know, it was just kind of cool seeing a band that I'm not going to say I've been a huge fan of my whole life, but loved them in the 90s. I listened to Semi-Charmed Life, Jumper, How's It Gonna Be like a million times probably back then. But it was a really cool experience, and one of the cool things, the reason why I wanted to mention this show more than, or maybe not more than anything, but one of the things is the inside of Dopamine is a picture from the stage looking up into the audience from that show at the Tabernacle.
No, cool.
So that's like the coolest thing. Like, it's so funny. I'll tell people that. They're like, well, can you point out you? I'm like, I can point out the general area we are. I mean, we're blurry, of course. Just kind of cool. Like, I'm there. Like, so I joke with people sometimes and be like, yeah, I'm famous. I'm on the booklet of Third Eye Blind. Of course, 2015 Third Eye Blind, which isn't nearly as big as they were in the 90s, but they're still pretty popular. I know they tour the college circuit sometimes. I think they do pretty well that way too. But anyway, do you like them at all?
Just like I'm familiar with that first album. Wasn't it? It had the frog on it.
Oh no, that the frog. That's Silverchair.
And man, I always goof those names up. See, that's how familiar I am with them.
Now, Third Eye Blind, it's like this weird. I can't describe.
It's
it
like a red face, black and red kind of thing.
Yes. Well, they've had several different versions of it, but the original one, I think, was black and red.
Man, I totally blew my music cred right there.
No, you're fine. Yeah, it's a close-up of a face with a hand, like kind of in it a little bit. It's the Third Eye Blind's self-titled, but it's definitely their biggest one. It's probably to this day still their best one, most consistent anyway. But I like them, and they put on a good show, and I want to say it was pretty modest price, so that's always a good point for me. I will throw an honorable mention. I almost threw out a show that I got to see the lead singer of Juliana Theory down in Atlanta, and actually got to hang out with him a good bit, but I discredited it because it was less about the show and more about just talking to him. That was that same year, actually. So 2013, that was a stacked year as well. So anyway, well, Andy, it's been great having you on. I know you have your own show, Survey Says. Is there anything you want to plug from it?
We have a new episode that should be coming out about the same time this one does. Well, the show is we're surveying like WCW, and so that's what the podcast is based on. Like, it's not current wrestling for anybody that wants to check it out. It's like WCW. And the next show we'll be doing is we reviewed Road Wild 99. We're kind of doing like a summer series, so we picked some summer pay-per-views to talk about.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'm not nearly as big into wrestling, but I like big shows are always enjoyable no matter what. I've watched a lot of wrestling off and on with Greg, but I'm trying to think. Like, I'm familiar kind of sort of with the WCW because that was when I was growing up and like everybody was watching at that point. But
it was the NWO, like you might have heard of them, Greg and stuff, or Hulk Hogan was there for a while, and like Ric Flair.
Yeah, and I had in WCW versus NWO Revenge on NC4. I played that a lot in high school.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. Even us, like fans that weren't like huge into wrestling, like loved that game. It was so much fun, especially with friends. So that's kind of my exposure to that, sadly. But that's cool. I know that's you and Tim. And y'all are once a month, twice a month.
We do it once a month.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm trying to think. I don't know what I'm doing next month for sure yet. I know in the near future I'll do a Queen episode in anticipation of Bohemian Rhapsody coming out in November. So cool. That's something to look forward to. How do people get in touch with you, Andy, if they want to?
I guess I'm on Facebook. I'm like my name. So, I mean, if anybody wants to add me or chat, because I usually kind of hang out on Place to Be Nation pages. And I'll comment on stuff. Or I'm on Instagram too.
Okay. I forgot. Yeah, you're not active on Twitter. I honestly only have Twitter for the show. Like I use it some, but I mainly did it just because I was heard it was a good way to promote my show. So I'm throwing out my honesty there. But anyway, I appreciate everybody listening. Like I said in the first half, if you have any comments, give me your concert list. Let me know. Let me know ideas, whatever it might be. I'd love to hear from you. Always curious who listens and what resonates. So thanks again, Andy, for joining me. You have any final words for the listeners?
Yeah. Or actually, I was going to say, like, I'm sorry I struck out, mixing up Silverchair and Third Eye Blind and then not having Alter Bridge. Like, I feel like I struck out.
No. Don't feel bad at all. Don't overthink that at all. I just have to joke a little bit because of your comments and because of our comments, like our first conversation revolved around Alter Bridge. On like Greg's comments or something like that. Like he had told me he had a buddy from Place to Be Nation back before I think before they started their podcast, the Hard Traveling Fanboys. But he had mentioned knowing a guy that was also really huge into Alter Bridge, and then I started noticing you post on his page. So that was kind of how we started talking originally, and then I did my show and we started talking more. But no, it kind of revolved around Alter Bridge was the point of that little aside. So listeners, listen to any other shows on Place to Be Nation, whether it be the wrestling, if you're into that. Definitely check out. We have a ton of shows on there, but we also, what I'm on is the Pop Network. There's a lot of great shows like Hard Traveling Fanboys, Marvel Age Masterclass. We used to have Sellers Points. Russell's got something new coming out soon around comics with DC.
There's Talking Pop with my
yes,
buddy.
sorry. Thank you. I had a brain fart. I knew I was leaving somebody out. I always do that, even though that's like one of my most anticipated. I love Talking Pop. I would have to say I love the show, but do not expect it to be PG like my show. It is not. But it is a very fun show. Jenny and Tim are always incredibly entertaining, and they get some of the deepest secrets out of people. I don't know how they do it. I've been impressed. Every episode had said something extremely deep that they get out of their guest. So, really cool stuff. So, thanks for listening, and I will catch you down the road, guys.
Calling, are we